2-minute speech on the topic, Why are the 10 Commandments important? Then use your cell phone or other means to record them reading the speech and submit it by June 30th. Find out all the details and upload your recording at afr.net/10 commandments. That's afr.net/10 commandments.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. In case you were waiting for me to tell you, today's Thursday, June the 20th. It's time to get out of bed, okay? Get hopping. Do something productive with your life. Thursday, June the 20th, 2024. Tim Wildman here with Ed Vitagliano. Good morning, Ed.
Hey, good morning to you. I'm just going to say, I know we got two other people to introduce, but I can remember being in high school and sleeping till noon. Mm-hmm. Very rarely would my dad let me, but I can remember sleeping till noon.
Oh, on a Saturday sometimes?
Yeah, on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And now, if I can make it past 3:30 or 4:30, it's
of course, the advantage of being a pagan, you could do that on Sunday.
Yes, and
we had to get up to church.
Yeah, that's
Christian
right.
Family, but once you got saved, you had to start
every time the doors were open.
All right, Fred Jackson. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning. Good to see you guys.
And Chris Woodward.
Good morning.
Where you been?
Wherever Fred needs me. I've actually
been on a little vacation time.
I took some PTO. Use them or lose them.
Did you go?
That's right.
Did you go out into the woods and just be in nature? Or what'd you do?
Not this particular time. A couple of weeks ago, my family and I.
I don't mean to get personal.
Oh, no. A couple of weeks ago, I did go to the beach in Alabama, but the past couple of days, I just sat around at the house.
Okay. You already been on the beach family vacation
Yes, sir.
thing?
Yes, sir. I did not see any sharks, praise God.
Okay. Yeah, the sharks down there on the Gulf Coast, they're like, they're going crazy down there. I know.
My wife and I are going in October because we don't do heat.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, to the beach?
To the beach. So So is this a real thing? A lot of sharks?
Oh, yeah. And even a pod of orca whales.
Really?
Off of Destin, yeah.
Pod of Orcas they were a great grunge band back in the 90s. If you remember, they sort of preceded Nirvana.
Did a live show in Nineveh.
Pod of Orcas.
Oh man, I wasn't a big fan of that kind of music.
Right.
They could go.
Yes, they could.
I'll
tell you what.
Look them up.
They had their ups and
If you played the record backward, you heard Paul is dead.
Look them up. Pod of Orcas. Okay. They had a VHS. They had a VH. Behind the music.
VH1
special on the Pod of Orcas. Anyway, it was fascinating.
So there were people listening who were going, I thought he was kidding at first, but the way
I'm going to look up Pod of Orcas.
He's continuing to go. Maybe this is a real band.
That is a problem, and I continue to go on long after people know it's not true. Listen, no, seriously, there was two teenage girls. This is about 2 weeks ago, who were attacked by a shark, I guess a bull shark, along that 30A stretch, Rosemary Beach, somewhere. It was somewhere between Destin and Panama City. Mm-hmm. And then there was, and the girl was fortunate to live. She was like a 16-year-old teenage girl, and there happened to be doctors and nurses who were vacationing too, who knew what to do to save her life. They had a tourniquet her.
Wow.
And I think she was out waist deep or something like that.
It wasn't far.
Yeah. That's the scary part. A lot of people, if you're familiar with the beach, Beach Destin, Fort Walton, you on the shore and it goes down a little bit, you may be up to your waist or so, and then there's the sandbars. So people don't think about sharks when you're standing in a sandbar, it's only up to your calf or whatever. But this is where they're coming in.
Yeah, they're getting closer. They don't know why exactly that the sharks are getting closer to the shore. The small fish must be getting closer to the shore.
Yeah.
Of course, all these lefties always say it's global warming.
Yeah.
Anything they can throw on global warming, they do. But but who knows why? People do say, well, sharks do live in the ocean.
Right, right.
It is their domain.
Well, I mean, I saw these headlines, but for some reason I was thinking it was like it's always Australia or something.
Oh yeah, the big coral reef or something. The thing about it is, so anyway, there's been pictures and videos in the last week or so of sharks along that area we just described. The interesting thing is here is I say interesting. We were there for family vacation, like the end of last week in May. We were in Destin, and we were on the beach. The whole family, and Walker and Wesley, my son and my son-in-law, and there was about 4 or 5 of the adults said one day they said, "Hey, we're gonna go out to that sandbar out there," because as Fred describes it, along that area you got the beach, and you got 15 feet of water, and then you got a sandbar.
Yeah.
Right, that you can go to. They did that. My sons, the geniuses that they are, decided they would take on nature. It's something about being a male. I don't know, and went out there.
Well, once one guy suggests it,
the other
then
guys
you can't wimp out.
Right. I just said I'll stay here and watch kids.
That's what
I'll stay here and watch the small children. You guys, do you want to take on the ocean? You go for it. But they were out there where we get home from the beach, and then a week later, this report comes out about this attack. Yeah. So, and also, you better be careful about going out to the sandbar, because the sandbar can be deceiving from the beach, because they went out there about 100 yards. They got out there, and they said, it looks like from the beach you can touch. But they got out there, and they couldn't touch.
Oh, so you still have to tread water.
Yeah, well, they had a float.
Oh, okay.
They had a float. You would have, if you're just swimming out there, you'd be out there going, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be able to stand up.
Yeah.
My brother one time, and I've described this before, but it doesn't stop older people from telling stories twice or 3 times.
And you qualify now.
My brother went to, this is 25 years ago, 30 years ago, and I forgot whether it was Gulf Shores or Destin or somewhere down there. Anyway, he went down with his buddies to the beach. Well, they did I think college boys. They did the college boy, hey, let's go,
Yeah.
They went out to the sandbar, 3 or 4 of them. They got to the sandbar. They were able to stand up.
Yeah.
And then they started back, got into the water to start back to the beach, and a dorsal came by.
Ooh.
And it's not funny, but my Mark, my brother, he tells the story. So his 3 buddies, a shark, a real shark.
Yeah.
His buddies were already committed. They were out halfway into the.
Yeah.
They were like shark food. Okay,
Yeah.
really, but they did make it over. But Mark, my brother, he had waited a couple of minutes, so he was stuck now by himself on the sandbar, going, when do I go?
Oh, I'm going to be that guy that's on the news. That's what
They had to rescue.
Yes.
They sent a helicopter out 100 yards to get you, or a boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't have. I'm saying I'm with you.
And at some point, the tide comes in, and you can't stand on the sandbar, right?
Yeah.
Because it gets covered.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I think he saw it. It swam away, but I don't know how far he had to go. Maybe I'm exaggerating the story just a little bit, but I'm not exaggerating what he said. That he started to go, and there was a shark dorsal.
It is.
Call it?
Yeah, dorsal fin. Yeah.
It is very interesting that we are discussing this, because I like to look up the On This Day in History thing that a lot of news outlets put out. Britannica puts out one that I'm a huge fan of, and they have all kinds of things that happened on this day in history. It's interesting that we're talking about sharks, because on this day in history, Steven Spielberg's thriller Jaws was released in theaters, and it was a huge success, essentially creating the genre of summer blockbusters. It was on this day in 1975.
Yeah, really?
And that ended my swimming in the ocean.
Yes.
I've been in the ocean since then.
Well,
and like I've said, my buddies and I, we used to swim way over our heads.
Yeah.
And just float out there in the ocean. And
now you're talking about New England.
Yeah.
Isn't the water brutally cold there,
It's
even
cold.
in the summer?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't warm up.
It's cold. You dive in, and you just have to get used to it.
Right.
And you can't stay,
Right.
out long.
Right. All right. Well.
And you don't start going to the beach and swimming in May. Oh, you got
Right.
you got to wait till the actual
Right.
summer.
Whereas the water in the Gulf is really pleasant.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was
Right.
nice.
Yeah.
By the way, today, you were mentioning it yesterday. You thought it was the 21st, but today is the summer equinox. Longest day of the year, Tim. You enjoy
That
it.
sounds like a horror movie too, though, doesn't it?
The longest day of the year.
Along comes the summer equinox.
The summer equinox
Takes over New York City.
From the people who brought you Sharknado.
It is. Is it Shark Week yet?
I think that's in August.
Oh, but that cracks me up.
What, Shark Week?
My wife loves those movies, those stupid movies
I'll
where
look
the
it up.
tornado scoops
Oh, yeah.
up sharks and they kill people on
Oh, yeah.
the 23rd
And
floor.
then snakes get in planes and things happen, you know.
Yes.
Then the equinox comes along.
The summer
It's the end of
equinox
the world.
finishes off whoever's left.
All right. So I don't know how we got started on that trend, but
Oh, this
How
just
did we-
in. Shark Week, July 7th through July 13th.
yeah, I knew it was
There
in
you
the
go.
summertime, just enough to
Oh.
scare people to death.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will go waist deep, ankle deep.
Well,
Not-
I'm
not
going to
waist
talk.
deep, but-
We do have a board meeting for AFA
Yeah,
in August, and I'm going to talk to them, and we're just going to have to prohibit all three of the Wildman men being in the ocean at the same time.
Right. Like, don't fly on the same plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There has to be a designated survivor of the Wildman
We
family.
got to have one of you left.
Riley is head of the foundation. I mean,
Yeah.
she's holding the purse strings.
That's true.
All right. Today's Jan Marquel will be with us a little bit later on. What are we going to talk to her about, Fred?
We're talking to her about the World Economic Forum. Klaus Schwab
Yeah.
is back in the news again. So it's a topic she deals a lot with. And basically, they would like to regulate, in other words, tell people what they can eat and what they can't eat,
The world food
All-
supply.
all under the umbrella of climate change.
Now, now Klaus Schwab's brother, Charles Schwab, he's not really as bad. But now this Klaus guy,
No, he just wants to make money off of climate change.
There are people who want to use organizations, international organizations, to try to control the planet
yes,
in various and sundry ways, and they do that in the name of doing good
Right.
yes.
for humanity. But still, the sinister nature of a lot of this is needs to be talked about and revealed.
Mhm.
So, by the way, whatever happened? I'm sorry, I don't know. Do y'all know what happened to this? Tony Perkins would be a good one, or Michelle Bach. What happened to that World Health Organization story that
They've put it off. They put a final vote off
who
for a
did?
while.
The World Health Organization?
World Health
Okay,
organized
okay,
it because
okay.
of all the opposition to their
Jan
plan.
Marquel will know about that. I just
Yes,
didn't know.
well.
I didn't hear anything else about that.
Yeah.
Is it? By the way, congratulations to the University of Tennessee and Texas A&M University. They those two schools made the college baseball World Series finals.
Oh,
So
all right.
they're going to play. Let's see. So I think Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
This
It's
is
a
the men's?
It's 3-game
Yeah.
series. Yeah. So they Tennessee and Texas A&M.
Yeah.
So that'll be. I know we have a lot of listeners in those.
Right.
Not to put any pressure on either program, but in recent years, the winner has had a terrible season the next year. So it's a matter of, do you want to have a championship and be terrible next year? Or you just,
Yeah, it's
Let
not
the other
necessarily
guy.
their destiny.
yeah, it's a little bit of a curse.
Yeah.
Has
All
to
right,
leave.
go ahead. What's your next story there, Chris?
This is a huge story. Fred posted it on our website. And
Huge
we're
story?
Gonna it is. It's huge, as some candidates might say. It's a big story on AFN.net. Fred posted it yesterday, and we're going to be adding to it today and tomorrow. Yesterday, Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry signed a bill into law that requires the 10 Commandments be displayed in every public school classroom in the state of Louisiana. This is part of an effort to show the historical impact that the 10 Commandments had on world history and certainly American history and law. You can't go to Washington, D.C. without seeing things biblical, and the 10 Commandments is one of them. And so Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry wants kids to see the 10 Commandments on a poster or something in every public school classroom. Obviously, when this comes out and things like this happen, people have a knee-jerk reaction and a question of, well, is this legal? And somebody that says it is legal is First Liberty of Counsel Matt Krause. He told me that he thinks courts will rule in favor of Louisiana's new 10 Commandments law, Clip 7.
In 1980, there was a case at the Supreme Court called Stone v. Graham that dealt with a 10 Commandments display in Kentucky in their classes, in their school rooms, and the Supreme Court said you can't do that. The only basis they gave for doing that was saying that it violated the Lemon test. Well, in 2022, in First Liberty's case, Coach Kennedy versus Bremerton, the Supreme Court not only gave Coach Kennedy the ability to pray at the 50-yard line after games, but they also discarded the lemon test. So the only basis upon which the Supreme Court had said you can't put the Ten Commandments up in schoolhouse rooms was taken away in the Kennedy opinion and replaced with the history and tradition test. There's nothing more historical or traditional in American history or legal jurisprudence than the Ten Commandments, and that's what gives it the ability to withstand constitutional scrutiny this time around.
Now, Krause also told me that he has no doubt that other states are probably going to be following Louisiana's lead here in the next few weeks or months.
Now, this is, by the way, this is posting a poster-sized display of the Ten Commandments. This is our own story, by the way, at afn.net. That stands for American Family News, afn.net. You scroll down a little bit because this was posted, I think, last week. I think we
yesterday.
Yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, it has to be, this poster has to be the Ten Commandments in large, easily readable font. That's what the actual law says. And it's in all public classrooms from kindergarten all the way up to state-funded universities.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I didn't realize it was all the way up to the university level. I'm all in favor of this. I know the atheists are going to squawk. In the 1980 decision, Stone v. Graham, what the Supreme Court said, now get this, folks, the Supreme Court said, if you post the Ten Commandments, students will read it and maybe influenced to obey it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, we are 40 years plus past that, and it's time for kids to be influenced to obey the Ten Commandments, because the alternative is we are seeing our country come apart at the seams. And in my opinion, it's hard to prove this by causation as opposed to correlation. But in my opinion, the quote unquote progressive move to separate public life from our Christian, Judeo-Christian roots is at the epicenter of all of our social ills. And this is not a magic wand that will solve all that, but it's the kind of thing that it's, Fred, a step back in the right direction.
Well, and the reasoning in that decision you just referenced, they might be influenced by. Well, there are things on classroom walls all over this country, and if you don't think they're not put there to influence, so what? They're put there to influence, to inform. And by the way, one of the other aspects of this law that's just been passed in Louisiana, no public funds are used. There's not taken from the public coffers. It's donations to individual schools, and therefore the argument of, the church and state argument that taxpayers' money cannot be used to promote one particular religion, well, it's not being used, taxpayers' money.
And the Ten Commandments are being posted with other, quoting now the law, foundational documents of our state and national government. And the displays are paired with a 4-paragraph context statement describing how the Ten Commandments, quote, were a prominent part of American public education for almost 3 centuries.
Yeah.
So good on Louisiana.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the
Hope
governor
this
there, do we have his comments?
We don't have audio from him. Not yet, anyway.
Okay. Landry.
Jeff.
Yes.
Anyway, he basically said about potential lawsuits regarding this. He said,
bring it on.
Bring it on.
Yeah. He is a former attorney general of Louisiana. Prior to becoming governor, he served in that capacity. So I would think he knows a little thing or two about law. And current Attorney General Liz Murrell was his number 2 there. She was Solicitor General when he was AG. So she will probably gladly defend this if and when it does go to court, and it's probably going to.
This will be billed as promoting a church-state violation. That's how the left will view this. But as you guys cited, this is among other documents that
it is. Yes, it is.
That are foundational to the U.S. And that's a matter of
and it's and the absurdity of the argument that is made, violation, the separation of church and state. Let's set aside. Most of our listeners know that there is no wall of separation in the Constitution. We all know where that comes from. But I always want to ask these people, what church are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Because the Ten Commandments is also part of the Jewish faith.
Right. That's true.
So what particular church is being linked to? You can't, and you can't even just say, well, it's all you Christian wackos. Well, so all the Jews and the Christians too?
Yeah.
And it is, as Louisiana has said, a foundational document that for 3 centuries was just fine in America till the atheists and the secularists got in charge.
Yeah. I would blame, this is blaming my own industry, and sometimes people laugh when they hear somebody in media blaming the media for something, but I would largely blame media for the lack of awareness on the whole separation of church and state thing. Because, as you mentioned, it's not in there. It's People have misinterpreted it, they twisted it, and media could set the record straight for people on these kinds of things, but they never have.
The Supreme Court used the phrase, lifted it from a letter written by the Danbury Baptists to then President Thomas Jefferson, saying we're worried that the government will come after our faith. And Thomas Jefferson said, no, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights provides a wall of separation between church and state that protects your faith from the government, not separates religion from the foundation.
I think that holds a little weight coming from Jefferson, being a founding father. He was more than just a president. So again, I think somebody knows a little something about the law, and was doing something there. But do check that out, afn.net. I am in the process of trying to get our friends and acquaintances at Alliance Defending Freedom on this. And then earlier today, I'll post this link in just a moment. Jenna Ellis had a couple of people on to discuss this and other topics, so I'll post that podcast on our Today's Issues Facebook page.
Okay, well, as they say, good on Louisiana.
Yeah.
And I'll just say this as a side note, and I can't name them all right now, but there are some really good governors right now in some of the red states across the country. Smart, savvy, people of conviction who are taking, and also some attorney generals. I was reading yesterday, was an attorney general in Missouri, I think.
Andrew Bailey.
Taking on
Planned Parenthood.
Well, it was somebody, I think they had something COVID related. I think he was going after Pfizer or somebody for misrepresenting the vaccine. You guys, does that ring a bell? Anybody know what I'm talking about?
Was that Kansas?
Was it Kansas? AG?
Kansas, yeah.
Was it Kansas AG?
Yep.
I think so.
Okay, well, but anyway, Missouri has a good AG too. Let me see that story there. The Kansas Attorney General is suing Pfizer amidst claims the firm engaged in, quote, false and misleading marketing, end quote, over the COVID-19 vaccine. I'm just saying, what's the gentleman's name? AG Chris Kobach. I'm just saying that there are some governors and some attorney generals in some of these red states that are rising up and taking a stand and resisting the leftist agenda trying to be imposed, especially by the federal government.
Yeah, and one thing we haven't even talked here about attorneys general is several of these red state attorneys general are female, and they're Republican, and so the left often talks about how it's men infringing on women's rights. Here in Mississippi, we have a female attorney general. She was instrumental in the Dobbs case that overturned Roe.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe one day we'll do a governor and attorney general all-star team. It's midsummer. It's about baseball all-star game. We'll do an all-star team because we have some really, really good ones. And this is going to become more and more important, folks, as we go along. Who your governor is.
Yes.
And who your lieutenant guy, who your attorney, state politics is, because we're getting more clashes between the state and the federal government. We'll be back momentarily. Stay with us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
As a student at Emory University in Atlanta, I used to occasionally go down to the First Methodist Church to hear the minister, the late Pierce Harris, preach. For many years, Dr. Harris served the church as minister, and his Sunday evening services were attended by people from all over the country. Dr. Harris once told a very dramatic and moving story about an incident which happened to him during his ministry. He was invited once to speak at a prison work camp. The prisoners were out in the open, and Dr. Harris had to speak from the bed of a truck. When it came time to introduce the speaker, one of the prisoners mounted the truck bed to make the introduction. The prisoner began his introduction by telling a story. Several years ago, he stated, two boys lived in the same community of North Georgia. They attended the same school, played with the same bunch of boys, even went to the same Sunday school. The prisoner continued, but one of the boys dropped out of the Sunday school because he felt he had outgrown it and that it was sissy stuff. The other boy kept going because he felt it was meaningful for his life. You know, one stops at that point in the prisoner's introduction to do a little bit of thinking. What makes people drop out of Sunday school? I guess that the answer to that question is as varied as there are those who drop out. While often part of the reason is the way in which Sunday school is conducted, most of the time it's due to a lack of interest on the part of the dropout and or his parents. I guess many people don't value the worth of the Sunday school very much. If they did, they would stay with it even when it gets dry and dull, or even when it appears to be a little sissy. Another thing one thinks about is what causes people to go wrong, to break the laws of society by which people live. Again, one could say that sometimes the laws aren't just and the prisoners are only victims. However, incidents of that nature are very, very few in number. In the vast majority of cases, the person sets himself above the law and ignores it. Of course, society has an influence on each person in the choices that he makes. But in the final analysis, each person chooses for himself the route his life will follow. He can choose to obey the law or to ignore it. The prisoner on the bed of the truck concluded his introduction of Dr. Harris. The boy who dropped out of Sunday school, the prisoner said, stands before you today to introduce the speaker. The boy who stayed in Sunday school is the one who will speak. Don't let anyone kid you. Your relationship to the church does have a very definite influence on the outcome of your life. Just remember this. Church business isn't sissy kid stuff.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
In him we were also chosen, having been predestined according to the plan of him who works out everything in conformity with the purpose of his will. Ephesians 1:11.
American Family Radio. This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. On this June the 20th, Ed, you said today's the longest day of the year?
It is.
Okay.
The longest day.
It sounds like a movie.
It was a movie. It was actually based on, it's about D-Day, based on the book by Cornelius Ryan, maybe? It was written about D-Day.
D-Day.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember D-Day happening in my lifetime, but I'm just saying I remember the book and the movie.
Yeah.
The longest day. Who was the star in that? Do you remember?
I think it was everybody.
Okay.
I even think John Wayne was in it.
Oh, this is long before Saving Private Ryan, then.
Yes.
I
yes.
got you.
The Longest Day. I like. It's a really
movie?
good movie.
The war movie.
So let me see the cast here.
When did it
it's
come out?
Streaming. I'm going to have to watch it. Came out, I'm not sure. 62.
It was John Wayne?
I'm checking here on the cast and crew. So Eddie Albert, Paul Anka was in it.
Paul Anka?
Richard
The singer?
Richard Burton, Red Buttons, Sean Connery.
Sounds like a comedy.
Fabian, Mel Ferrar, Henry Fonda.
It was a who's who.
Peter Helm, let's see. Peter Lawford.
Buddy Hackett in there?
Roddy
busy on the
McDowell, Sal Mineo.
Soupy Sale in there?
Soupy Sales, Robert Ryan, George Siegel, Rod Steiger, Tom Tryon, Robert Wagner,
Right,
Stuart Whitman,
we got it.
and
This
John.
is like
and
700
John
years
Wayne.
worth of acting careers.
John
Now,
Wayne in it as well.
If you would scroll down and start reading the credits for this. Did you do that? Huh?
Well,
Can you do stage manager?
You wanted me to do
I
it,
did
and
want
I
you to
did
do it,
and now
but
you're
I-
mocking me for it.
Food catering.
I kind of wanted the top three,
Well, I didn't
household
know.
name actors.
I had to go
Okay,
down.
Okay, I got you.
So,
but John Wayne,
it's streaming on Hulu. I'm going to watch it.
Nice.
but John Wayne and Henry Fonda, that
Yeah.
was a big name.
Yeah,
Back in that era.
yeah.
But it came out in '62. You're
62.
saying? And it was about
Looks like
the
it's
Normandy
black
invasion.
and white. Yep. There it is,
Okay.
right there. I'm watching the trailer.
Okay.
Are you guys go ahead with whatever stories you're dealing with? I'm going to watch.
What,
the
you're going to
trailer.
watch the trailer? All right. Today's issue is the name of the program. Thank you for listening. If you want to watch, you can go to stream.afa.net. Did I got that right? I do.
Stream.afa.net.
STREAM. If you want to watch this show or a lot of the shows we have here on AFR, then you can just go to stream.afa.net. Stream.afa.net. We're also available on Facebook. Just go to Today's Issues, search for Today's Issues, and then YouTube, Brent, is what? The YouTube access?
Today's Issues Live.
Today. So if you go to YouTube, you got to type in Today's Issues Live.
Right.
And then what about X?
X, formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah.
American Family Radio.
Okay.
And
That's
then
like
whatever's
on
live.
Get whatever we're putting
Right.
out.
Right.
That's right.
Huh?
That's right.
All right, Fred, you want to introduce our friend and guest?
Absolutely. Our good friend Jan Marquel, host of Understanding the Times, heard Saturday at 1 p.m. Central and Sunday at 12 noon right here on AFR. Good morning, Jan.
Good morning, gentlemen. So nice to be with you. Thank you.
Nice. It's the longest day of the year, the one warm day of the year in Minneapolis, correct?
Yeah, you got that. Since we last talked, it went from winter to summer. So, yeah, it's breathing a sigh of relief here.
All right.
Was it 90 there today?
Yesterday, I believe. In the last 2 days, it was, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
It's an aberration, but it does happen.
Well, I would just say we Southerners say, "How you like that?" You want some of that?
And then in the winter we get a half inch of snow.
Right. And it gets down to
Jan
28.
says,
Jan
how do you
goes,
like
how
that?
you like them apples? Anyway, all right,
Well-
Fred, go ahead, Jan.
Jan, a topic that you
Yeah.
address quite frequently, a name that we hear on your program, Klaus
Great.
Schwab, German engineer who has founded, I guess, the World Economic Forum. Anyway, there's an article in the Daily Caller written by Mary Rook talking about the ongoing agenda of the World Economic Forum under the umbrella of climate change. They would like to control what everybody eats. They want to get rid of chickens and cattle and, beef, eggs, and all that sort of thing, and basically just eat plants.
That's right. Or bugs.
Or bugs.
Plants or bugs.
Yes. What's going on here? And
Are you all kidding? Is this a
No,
joke?
this is not a joke. And I just want to
No,
say,
no.
I just want to publicly say that they will have to pry the ribs out of my cold, dead hand.
It'll be the longest day before the.
Yeah.
No, this is not. We're not making this up, right?
No,
Fred?
it's legit.
It's all part of, Jan, of the globalist agenda out there.
Yeah, in a sentence, that's exactly right, Fred. I mean, the World Economic Forum, correct, founded in 1971 by Klaus Schwab, who just stepped down he's no longer the head of it. I'm sure he's still very active, but he's 87 years old, so he's turned the reins over to someone else. And I think we need to recognize this is the premier globalist outfit in the world. Obviously, we have the United Nations, we have the World Health Organization, and we have the World Economic Forum and others. But I'd have to say this is the premier outfit that just about everybody, other than conservatives and Christians, but the rest of the world looks on with high esteem, that this outfit is going to change the way we live. This is the outfit that's putting all the pressure on the farmers in Europe. You know, we've seen them protesting here for the last few years because they're being forced out of business. And the tragedy is this is all driven by, well, two things. Number one, globalism, but secondly, their nutty fixation on the fictitious climate issues, climate change, et cetera, which God's idea of climate change is 4 seasons, but these guys have another thing in mind, and they think that the climate is changing severely enough to ruin the whole world. So one of the ways to fight it is to make all of us eat nothing but vegetables or maybe some bugs at the same time. So it's a very serious thing that's going on.
Oh, absolutely. And they even have a name for this. They're calling it reinvention. And one of the things, some alternative proteins, this according to this article, rely on plant-based, cultured, and precision fermentation, while other companies have even begun to use, are you ready for this, synthetic biology proteins.
Mm-hmm.
This is machine-made proteins.
Right.
The human body is not going to react well to that.
No, but you can also believe that the elite who are behind all of this will not succumb to this, that they will continue on with their beef and whatever diet that they've always been enjoying. And that's the thing with these globalists. They consider themselves so much better than everyone else. They are exempt from any pressures they're putting on the rest of the 7 billion people in the world. They really are terribly, well, their character is almost non-existent. And I think an underlying issue that's driving them, and I'm not being conspiratorial here, is to reduce the population because they believe we've got to get it down to 500 million. Well, if we starve some people or don't give them proper nutrition, they're going to die.
Well, this article this article is quoting the WEF, World Economic Forum, is also pushing the use of AI technology to determine an individual's dietary needs. Now, they're calling it personalized nutrition, and that sounds, wow, that sounds like something we'd all want to do. Let's, give me an exercise plan and a dietary plan. But instead, they are going to use AI technology to determine not only what we should eat, but how much we should eat. They call it sustainable new dietary habits. And this is a quote from the WEF. Personalized nutrition can also minimize food waste by matching individuals with meal plans that use ingredients efficiently and effectively. Okay, so now I'm not saying
that great home ec.
Yes, well, I'm not saying that we all should be at the Bonanza buffet 5 times a week, but this sounds like they're going to limit caloric intake.
How do you do this?
How
you do this practically speaking? I'm talking about.
What the WEF wants to do, and this is what, and I'll let Jan come in here since we had her on. This is why you had all these protests in Europe, because what's going to happen, I think, is you're going to have corporations buying up family farms, and all our food will be provided by corporations. And then the next step is for the WEF to be telling which country how much food they can, because the corporations will be multinational. I mean, am I far off on what their plan is, Jan?
No, I think that's very accurate. And I think, just think about that term, personalized nutrition. They're going to personalize it by using artificial intelligence. You start contemplating the invasiveness of AI, that they're going to somehow get a hold of how our body functions, the amount of calories we need, and then personalize a diet. Well, this is all space age type, science fiction. It's hard to believe. They believe that they really believe they're going to press on with this kind of an agenda, and I think they will. I mean, I don't know how far they're going to get, but I think they believe it with all their heart. They call it a comprehensive transformation of food supply. And then I think we need to just take it one step further and ask, well, is this going to be implemented in what the Bible calls the tribulation? And we don't know, but if it is, of course, there the Antichrist will control everything, including every family farm he'll control. So they really could employ this quite easily in that tribulation period. But the question is, is this going to happen next week or next month? We don't know. I just think we need to be watching. I think we should keep an eye on these one-worlders, the globalists, the people who want every single government to be united under perhaps a single ruler who will give forth these kinds of edicts. I mean, we just don't know the timing. It's going to happen. We just don't know when.
Talking to Jan Marquel, host of Understanding the Times Radio, which is on Saturdays at 1 o'clock and Sundays at noon Central Time, right here on American Family Radio. Jan, what happened to the story about the World Health Organization and the treaty? Refresh my memory. Go ahead.
Well, they were going to, in May, come forth with, and I don't have the official language, but come forth with a health plan that would unite the world, and they've tabled it. They couldn't pass it in 2023. They couldn't quite pass it in 2024. They're now saying that by July of this year, they're going to go back into the negotiations and try to get it so that it will be passed in the spring of 2025, and that would perhaps put Mr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, head of the World Health Organization, in charge of the world, because the WHO would be in charge of everything based on our health needs and based on past pandemics and future pandemics, i.e. bird flu, et cetera. Now, will this happen? Again, God is in control, so it's so hard for us to say when and if anything like this is going to happen. But my position is, if it's in the Bible, which global government is, then we need to really pay attention. And I think that there are three candidates for world government, not necessarily in this order: World Health Organization, World Economic Forum, and United Nations. And maybe they unite and become one organization and form Antichrist kingdom. This is speculation, but again, it's speculation based on the Bible.
All right, talking to Jan Marquel. Jan, thanks for being on with us, and we look forward to look forward to the show this weekend.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, that's Jan Marquel, host of Understanding the Times. You're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. I know a lot of people listen, or a lot of non-Christians, and some Christians listen to this kind of talk, and they mock it. They go, listen to these people. They think the international boogeyman's coming to get them, coming to their house. Listen to this crazy talk. Yeah. Okay. And sometimes it does sound like crazy talk. It does sound like it. Right. But there are, and a lot of what we're discussing today does comport with what the Bible talks about at the end of the world. Right. At the end of the age, the Bible prophecy. Fred has taught on this many times. The things that the Bible talks about are only today possible because of the technology that exists. Right. Y'all tracking with me?
Yeah, I'm tracking with you.
Okay, and I got to tell you, and I think it's good to be skeptical of stories sometimes, because we have seen wolves in sheep's clothing. Mm-hmm. We have seen people try to take advantage of Christians by doing, outlandish things, or say outlandish things, making stuff up. Yeah, what day,
Jesus is coming back, all that.
But I would just say this: this World Health Organization, and the World Economic Forum, for example, and the United Nations for another example here, while they may do good work on certain fronts, nobody's denying that, like maybe giving health care to people in Africa or who are poor and needy around the world. But there are these experts, quote, some of them are experts in their fields, science, economics, politics, whatever. They view themselves. There's a reason why they meet. Okay, the World Economic Forum, and these are some powerful, prestigious people.
Yeah.
And have great influence around the world with world leaders. I mean, this isn't a joke. Okay, and these folks think they know better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And so, and sometimes they do on some things. There's a reason they have the degrees that they do.
Right.
But the plans, what they want to do, and I know I'm talking generally here, they, and I always want to know, well, who is they? Of the people I've just described, and there are names that can be attached to it. But their desire is to control the world, not necessarily by putting they don't want to necessarily put a military presence around the world like Adolf Hitler did, for example, or some Alexander the Great. I mean, other people down through history, the Romans. But they would like to control the world through money, through force countries people in countries to comply with whatever they say is a regulation that's needed to save the planet.
They want to control the world for our own good.
Yes. For our own good. Yeah. So, and we've mentioned this before. This is a truism. People often will surrender freedom if they're guaranteed security.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. People will give up liberty in the name of safety or security or so. That's what we're talking about here, and especially the United States of America and the West broadly. The U.S. We march to our own drummer. Okay. Not that we don't care about the world. Nobody's done more to help the world than the United States of America is. We just celebrated D-Day, the Normandy invasion. Of course, Canada participated in that as well, Fred.
Mm-hmm.
But no country has sacrificed more in the history of mankind for others with no desire to get anything for it than the United States of America.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to say this is real. Whether these people get anywhere or not, that's why we're reporting on things like this.
Well, and the difference, the United States, what we are about is helping other nations that may be experiencing poverty, food shortage, that sort of thing. But remember when Joe Biden became president, one of the first things he did was appoint John Kerry as his climate czar. John Kerry wants to surrender the sovereignty of the United States to the global body. President Joe Biden is in that camp as well. He is willing. They were all in. The United States is all in on the idea of surrendering health policy to the World Economic Forum. Now, they use the excuse about the next pandemic, they say. Mm-hmm. There should be a global body that decides what policies are put in place. So we now have a government that's willing to, it's not about helping other nations, it's about we're going to surrender our decision-making to a global body. That's the huge difference. And that's where the tension is right now. Conservatives want to maintain the sovereignty of the United States.
Sure.
We'll decide for ourselves. Sure. But we do have people in high places in this country, Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, Joe Biden, who are willing to surrender our sovereignty to a global body.
Yeah. Generally speaking, Democrats favor submitting the U.S. to global edicts, and generally speaking, Republicans resist surrendering our sovereignty to foreign edicts or international bodies because we want to remain free and independent And so that's just, again, broadly and generally, that's the philosophies of the two parties.
Let me point people to a resource that is available through American Family Association.
Has this how to grow your own food?
No, nothing.
Oh,
nothing
we're
quite
not doing
that
anything
helpful
on that front yet. I thought you and I might do a video on that.
Yes, because you and I are really good at growing
have
our
a
own
garden and you know.
Yeah. No, this is helpful in terms of understanding what we're discussing right now. And you can go to resources.afa.net, resources.afa.net, and put in the search bar these words: the progressive threat to the American Republic. All right, the progressive threat to the American Republic. Now, I am not getting anything out of this. I wrote this, and this also includes a Cultural Institute. I did a video, on the same material. But you folks, you need to get this. This is the reason why I wrote this. This idea that Tim was talking about, that is deeply ingrained in the quote-unquote progressive movement, is that the experts should run the show. And even to the extent that the rest of us vote too much on important issues. That was what Woodrow Wilson, one of our presidents, said, a progressive. All right? You can get this pretty cheap. You can get a 5-pack of this booklet for $10. You can hand this out to your friends. The Progressive Threat to the American Republic. I always like what Frank Turek says when people say, you need to follow the science. We need to follow the science. Frank Turek's always saying, science doesn't say anything. Scientists do.
Right.
Science doesn't say anything. Scientists do. And you know what? Scientists can be influenced to say a whole range of things that may not actually be scientific.
Right. I was thinking about that earlier when you talked about how some people, even Christians, will kind of mock doomsday talk and say, "Oh, there's this is crazy stuff." I've heard for years from even believers that downplay Revelation because they think, "Oh, John was in exile. He was kooky." And it kind of opens. I would say that opens the door to doubting anything of the Bible, which is a dangerous road to go down, if not an evil one. But anyway, I was thinking about the whole Christians are talking about kooky stuff. Many of the people that mock Christians for talking about the end times are people that believe in climate change or global warming, which we have been told for decades is going to cause all kinds of things that has never happened.
Right.
By the way, tell folks again how they can get this.
Yeah, they can just go
the booklet and the video you're talking about that you did.
Right. So resources.afa.net, resources.afa.net. That's our resource center. And in the search bar, simply type in the progressive threat to the American Republic. Now, it comes in a booklet, and there's also a video, what we call a Cultural Institute DVD, that is the same material. That's only $6.99. We're not trying to make a bunch of money on this, just cover the costs. You can get the video and one booklet for $11, or you can get a 5-pack of the booklet for $10. I forget how many pages it is, admit 24 pages or something like that. But it lays out a brief explanation of natural law, of what the Bible says, what the Declaration of Independence drew from that, and how progressives in this country and worldwide, but I especially cover this country, what they've been doing since the period of the 1880s to the 1920s and beyond, including people who consulted with our presidents. I mentioned President Woodrow Wilson. What this mindset means for the future of the American Republic, because remember, true progressives hate the Constitution because the Constitution separates powers, provides checks and balances.
Right.
Progressives want to aggregate power.
Right.
They want it in D.C., and
right.
globalists want that authority actually transferred overseas to a one-world government.
Good explanation. We'll be back in 5 minutes for more of today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
American Family Association, a ministry with a mission to inform, equip, and activate people like you to strengthen the moral foundations of American culture and to give aid to the church here and abroad in her task of fulfilling the Great Commission. We couldn't do it without your day-to-day support. American Family Association. Find us online at afa.net.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. The U.S. Supreme Court announced 4 decisions today about tax laws, criminal procedures, drug trafficking, and free speech rights. But Shannon Bream tells us we're still waiting to hear about some of the court's biggest decisions for this term, including whether Donald Trump could have immunity in the host of criminal charges he faces, or the fate of those charged in the January 6, 2021 protest at the U.S. Capitol.
But we're down now to 19 opinions, and they got to clear the decks. We've got to get some of these moved along. So we had a couple criminal law cases today, a tax case, things that are undoubtedly important to the parties involved in them, but not broad, wide-ranging things that we're waiting on. So we'll do this again. We are at the court's mercy. Technically, the last day of the term is Monday, but we are sure they will go well beyond that.
Russia has entered into a defensive pact with North Korea that obligates both nations to defend each other from military adversaries, quote, without delay. Former State Department staffer Morgan Ortagus is concerned.
Very concerned. It's not something that we should take lightly at all. What you're seeing really form is something that I call a quartet of evil. That's North Korea, Iran, China, Russia getting together. What's important about this defense agreement is they have essentially, the Russians have agreed to come, and North Korea, they've agreed to come to each other's aid if either one is militarily attacked.
President Biden is the frontrunner in a hypothetical matchup against former President Trump for the first time since October, as positive views of the economy inch up, hitting their highest level so far in the Biden presidency, according to a new Fox News poll. Since May, there was a 3-point change in the presidential race. But Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders says Democrats don't have much to celebrate.
Democrats can certainly make an argument. It's just not a very good one, because on the things that really matter to voters, the big difference in this race that you have that is very different than anything we've seen in the past is that you have 2 people who have already served. They both, it's not just what they're talking about, they both have a record of service as president. One has a record of success.
Moms for Liberty co-founders are not happy with Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Fauci told CBS Mornings that keeping schools shut down for a long period of time was not a good idea. And that's a big change from 2020, when Fauci said closings were necessary to combat the spread and keep students and staffers from getting sick. In recent years, studies have shown that closings hurt many children and contributed to significant learning loss, something that may take years to overcome. Tina Deskovich, co-founder of Moms for Liberty.
We will not forget. We can forgive. We are loving, forgiving people, but we will not forget. And neither will the children that have up to 5 years of learning loss. So missing 2 years of school in some places, they're saying is going to take 5 years for these students to recover. Some of them will never recover. So we will not forget, and somebody does need to be held accountable for that. Many people need to be held accountable, and Anthony Fauci is number 1 on that list.
I'm Chris Woodward.
And finally, the nation's largest abortion chain has developed a new revenue stream, and Charlie Butts reports on how that came about.
The majority of abortions in this country are done now via abortion pills that are flowing into all 50 states in violation of federal and some state laws. Numerous Planned Parenthood child termination clinics not only sell them, but have started providing miscarriage treatments. American Life Lead's Hugh Brown explains why.
These pills, when taken in combination, the first pill cuts off oxygen, it kills the child, where the second pill and the first pill even by itself can trigger a miscarriage.
But Brown encourages people to think twice about availing themselves of that service.
It's an organization that murders children, profits off the murders of children, sells the bodies of dead children, destructs the family, destructs young people, sexualizes young people, and we're going to trust them that their miscarriage and postpartum care services are legitimate? Of course not.
He contends there is only one way to stop the harm.
We have to target outlawing these pills, criminalizing these pills, and prosecuting and criminalizing the people that provide these pills. That's the answer.
I'm Charlie Butts.
American Family News is available online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty P.
Hey, man, what are you doing?
I'm just lying here relaxing in a stream. I call it streaming.
Okay, you know that word already has another meaning, right?
AFA Streaming offers free and subscription video content. Titles like By Design, The God Who Speaks, and Asbury Revival, Desperate for More. You'll also find video versions of AFR programs. Visit afa.net and click on Streaming. Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Ed, Fred, and Steve Paisley Jordahl joined us. Good morning, Brother Steve.
Morning, everybody.
So we were talking off the air. Allison, my wife, and I are going up to Boston.
Please come to Boston.
I love that song. That's a great song. Sometime in the next month or so. I don't know the exact. I do know the exact dates, but I can't. Anyway, that's not important.
Right.
The important thing is, when I was talking to you, you grew up there.
Yeah, in New England.
Yeah, New England. So we
born in
can't
the
wait.
Boston
We can't
area.
wait to go because I've been one time to Boston, and like for a day, I had to speak and I did a quick city tour, but never experienced the full thing.
Oh, you're going to
New
experience
England.
it, Jerry.
Yeah.
You're going for a week or 10 days.
But you were saying Nantucket. There's so many things to do if you've never been there.
Martha's Vineyard and then Nantucket is past it. They're both islands.
But do you have to put up like $10,000 to get on the Martha's Vineyard ferry?
Well, listen.
I mean, isn't that the land of the billionaire and
I
millionaire?
think Florida, it is very wealthy.
Yeah.
To live there. They're not going to let you live there, but you can go
They're not
visit.
going to let you live there.
I think Governor Ron DeSantis sent.
They don't take your kind of
right.
people.
Sent illegals to Martha's
Vineyard. Yeah, he did.
And then,
That was funny.
He did. But now I'm looking here. So, Fred, you said go to Gloucester, right?
Gloucester's a fishing village. I lived in Wenham, Massachusetts for a year. Went to school there, and not far from Gloucester. And we used to love to go up there. Great restaurants.
yes.
Just
Right
We
on,
used to
on
go-
the ocean coast, right?
It's
in
right on there.
August, they would have. I don't remember if it was Exeter or Gloucester, but I was a kid, and we stopped going. But you could go, and for $5, it was some kind of festival. For $5, you could get all the steamed clams you could eat, and then corn in the cob order. There's big tents.
Now, I love clam chowder. Would I like just straight up clams with like corn and? Is that what do you eat it with?
Now these were steamed
Like a
clams.
clam bake.
My
what you're talking about.
favorite is fried clams, which are not like you get down here. These are the big meaty clams. But my parents would always. The kids would always get the steamed clams, hot dogs. Kids, we were just going crazy. They would get lobsters for $5 a piece.
Oh, my gosh.
And
Lobsters for $5 a piece.
Yeah.
Just
one time.
You can't get a claw for that.
No,
today.
no. This is back probably in 67, 68, 69.
Allison loves lobster. I like it.
What's the difference in taste between oysters and
I don't like clams.
oysters.
Yeah, what is the difference between
Oysters and clams, taste-wise?
Yeah. I don't like
don't-
oysters either. I don't
know how
like
to
them. I have
describe
friends that eat them, and I just like.
Every once in a
how
while,
do
I'll
how
eat
do
some
you
fried
take
oysters.
that slime going down your throat?
That's good
I don't
stuff.
Get that.
Now that was a thing I never tried.
What's
You've
that?
never tried a raw oyster?
I've never tried raw oysters.
I have.
But people, you put a little hot sauce on it, and down you go.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. Nothing slimy.
Yeah, the slimy.
Yeah.
But anyway, the clams. Yes, go for clams. Right.
I love steamed clams,
Baked clams.
and
Steamed
and a
clams.
clam bake, and then fried clams. Is what
Getting hungry here, guys.
Well, we're talking classic New England food right there.
Because you're going to see the Red Sox play
Yeah.
against the Yankees
Yes.
at Fenway.
Can't wait. Well, bucket list for me as a sports fan is to go to Fenway Park in Boston.
And the chowder.
Yeah,
Clam, now, if you like chowder, New England clam chowder.
Yes.
It is.
I eat it every day.
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
Well, you'll be able to get it there
Yeah,
every day.
Yeah.
Probably big pieces of clams. Too.
Yeah. Can't wait to go to Fenway Park because that's the oldest baseball stadium in America. I think second is Wrigley Field in Chicago, but Fenway Park is just like
that's iconic.
It's iconic. Yeah,
it's for sports. If you're a baseball fan, that's like going to see the pyramids in Egypt.
Exactly.
I mean, you got to go.
It's on my bucket list.
Exactly. And the Green Monster and all that. I wonder how old is Fenway Park? I'm thinking it's thinking it's like 1918 or something like that when it was first built.
Steve, you gonna look?
Why don't you look that up real quick and then we'll move on.
I guess we'll move on to real stuff, but
real depressing news. Give us
Fenway Park.
Yeah, built in when?
Hold on.
Jeopardy music is playing for Steve.
Seating, events, overview.
I just want
to go to Wikipedia.
I'm trying to get there. There it is, 1912.
1912.
Oh.
Wow. Of course, they've done some refurbishing or remodeling, but it's on the same piece of soil that, and a lot of structures probably is the original, you know.
And because it's downtown Boston, it has that weird short, Pesky's pole and the short.
You been there?
Yeah. I've never been there. It's on my bucket list. I really want to go.
I'm going to shock you. I've never been to Fenway.
You never been to Fenway?
Oh, my God.
My dad, I basically grew up, lived for several years in the Boston area, Peabody and Wakefield. But I grew up in New Hampshire. And my dad constantly promised. To his dying day, I would tease him, and I would say, you never took me to Fenway. He would always say, we're going to go to Fenway, son. It was a 45-minute drive. We never went. I've seen the Red Sox play, but I've seen the Red Sox play against the Rangers, Texas Rangers.
Have you ever taken your son Tony
to Fenway? No, but my son and I have gone to see the Bruins play in Nashville.
Boy, it was just like me.
That's well played. My son, we have gone to see the Bruins play in Nashville, the hockey team, but not at Boston Garden.
Right.
I've seen baseball games at Wrigley. I saw a baseball game. I had a business. Back in my former life, I had a business trip to Detroit. Got to see the old Detroit Tiger Stadium where Ty Cobb played.
The only thing I'm worried about going to Boston is how much are they going to tax me?
They're going to tax you.
Because that is like the most taxing state in America, isn't it?
We called it Massachusetts.
You called it what?
New Hampshire, Massachusetts.
That's why people moved to New Hampshire.
That's right, and turned it blue. I'm serious. My dad started complaining in the '60s and '70s because no income tax.
Because y'all left Massachusetts to get away from that.
Yes, and all those people moving up there. My dad would say, "What are they coming up here for?" People would drive across the state line and buy stuff. They would buy alcohol and cigarettes and buy things that they could get more cheaply.
I've done that.
New Hampshire.
Because the only thing you can get in Boston is tea.
I've driven to New Hampshire to buy cigarettes and alcohol. Who hasn't?
Sure. Who hasn't?
Just kidding. All right, Steve, what do you got? First story.
It seems like you can hardly turn the TV on or look at your news feed online without seeing another Boeing incident where an engine catches fire or a wheel falls off the plane. Boeing is having a hard time. Their CEO, I guess, was just in Congress and apologizing to the victims of a couple airline crashes. Well, seems that they are in the space business too. They are trying to compete with SpaceX, and so they have built what they call the Boeing Starliner. Well, in due form, they launched the Boeing Starliner at the beginning of this month on June 6th. Took two astronauts, Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore, to the International Space Station, where they sit waiting for the next Starliner to get fixed before it can come up and get them. A whole series of helium leaks, thrusters, and all kinds of stuff was going wrong. So
it sounds like a Mel Brooks movie or something.
Mel Brooks.
Two astronauts.
Spaceballs?
Yeah. Oh, blazing spaceships.
Spaceships.
I mean,
you don't want that. That's for sure.
But I'm talking. What is his name? Mel Brooks.
Yeah. Well, Mel Brooks, was the director.
Blazing Saddles and all that.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's the thing. When I first read this story, I thought, well, that sounds scary because they're trapped, but they could come back to Earth by the Russians or somebody.
Well, that's an option. The Russians could come and rescue us up there. The next window, I think, is the June 22nd. In a couple of days, and if that doesn't work, they don't see this lasting past July 2nd.
But when I read astronauts waiting in space,
right.
and then you read
you're thinking about Apollo 13 kind of thing.
Well, yes, sounds scary. And then they go the ship that's supposed to go up there and get them. Is that what you call it? A ship?
Spacecraft. The
rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to go up there and get them and bring them back to Earth as quote troubleshooting end quote.
Yeah.
So you don't want to hear that. Who's going to call and tell them that?
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, how y'all doing up there? Listen, we got a little.
We're doing a little trouble.
Is Jan around there? Because I need to tell y'all.
But we should be up there pretty quickly as soon as we get these problems fixed.
We got Sam coming in this afternoon. He's going to take a look at our computer system here and see
Just
if we can
ignore the duct tape.
Maybe we should make friends with all the little green men we keep reading about.
Right.
They can come get them.
So y'all sit tight up there.
Yeah.
We'll be. I'll be getting back to you tomorrow sometime.
Some of these people are up there for months. I mean,
yeah,
they sign on.
They
sign on for this.
Yeah, I know. But it just so they're having trouble. To your point, kind of Boeing's had a PR problem for a while, and this is
not helping.
If you got stock in Boeing, it might be time to let loose.
It's the astronauts' names, the two Americans, right?
Yep.
Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore.
Suni?
I'm assuming it's pronounced Suni.
S-U-N-I.
Well, that's
They arrived on the International Space Station on June 6th, and they were supposed to go home.
What are their names again? Suni or Sonny what?
Is it S-U-N-I?
I don't know. It's probably Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore.
It could be Suni. She identifies as a.
So that was a movie. Who played in that? Paul Newman and Suni Williams.
Yeah,
and
this
Butch
is a
Wilmore?
serious
Yes,
news show.
I know it is,
and
very
I'm
serious.
trying to keep us on task here.
Right.
The Boeing Starliner is facing several mechanical problems. En route to the station, the crew reported problems with 5 thrusters and 4 helium leaks. Okay. I'm sorry, this is not funny and nobody's died. But if you get a report 5 thrusters are not working right. 4 helium leaks, who worked on this thing? Huh?
I'm just, okay. Again, this is a very serious situation.
Yes,
but when you mentioned the helium leaks, I'm thinking of a balloon that you let go. And now the thrusters aren't working either. And there's that poor Boeing Starliner.
This is serious news. This is how it's being reported. This is a serious news story from Yahoo News, and that's what they say. A 5th helium leak has since cropped up.
Yeah, just hold tight. We're coming.
Crews are working to make sure it's safe before the astronauts are put back on and return home.
We do encourage people to pray for these guys.
If that's your family, you're really worried.
Yes, absolutely.
But I mean, who?
But we're making fun of Boeing.
I just wonder how the interaction goes between the 2 astronauts and the Boeing people on the ground when they say, do you say to them, what's their names?
Suni Williams.
Yeah, sorry. So Butch. Suni and Butch. Just call in well, I guess you don't call. What do you do? What do you do?
Radio.
You were just
radio up.
Radio up. We're just radio to tell you. Sam said he quote thinks he has it fixed.
Thinks he's got it fixed. Listen,
no,
that situation's bad enough that if I'm Suni or Butch, I'm going, send the Russians. That's how bad things are. Send the Russians.
Send the Russians. All right. Anyway,
Man.
That's a serious situation, but it sounds like they'll be saved.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead. Next story.
All right. There is a rule in politics. It's a election campaign finance law that says that a campaign is not allowed to coordinate with a super PAC. You know, there's these organizations, super PACs, that put a lot of money together, and there might be a super PAC that is intent on electing Donald Trump, but it's not part of the campaign. and they're not allowed to coordinate with the campaign. You can't talk to the campaign. They just do their own thing. Well, there is a story that just showed up in Politico that was strangely detailed about the about the Biden campaign's plan to take advantage of the legal troubles that Donald Trump has had and all the convictions he's had. And they showed, they had almost point by point, this is what we can do, this is what we think, and this is how it affects the campaign. Well, they think that it was leaked to Politico by the Biden campaign as a workaround for the financial campaign laws so that the super PACs can pick it up. And sure enough, super PACs have come out with ads right down the line.
Fred, I'm just going to say our process has been so corrupted by the left. I'm not saying the conservatives, Republicans, what have you, have not done corrupt things, but this is so corrupt. Yeah. The Mark Zuckerbucks. We saw last week. We talked about the taco truck. That it sort of looks like that's going to go around to snatch up ballots. This whole process has been so corrupted, and this appears to be yet another example of the Biden administration purposefully leaking its campaign strategies so they can actually collude with super PACs in violation of the law.
I'm sorry, did you just say taco truck?
That's what it looked like.
Racist much? They expect you to drive a taco truck like with the ice cream thing and have all these Mexican people come out and
why is it racist? Are you opposed to taco truck?
I don't know. I just have this thing. It's like, how the ice cream truck calls kids out?
Yeah.
They think they're going to.
And if I had said ice cream truck, you would have said, what's the matter? You didn't want to mention the taco trucks?
I didn't know it was a taco truck. But that just seems
It looks like it to me.
I'll answer the question now.
Yes.
No, I think the traditional checks and balances that used to be in place, the media as the watchdog over the government.
That's a good point.
That is gone away. The media and socialist Marxist governments of the day are working together.
Yes.
This is their worldview. The media has become a cheerleader for the left. I see this every day. I monitor the Associated Press. And I'm absolutely amazed. The Associated Press news stories look like press releases from the White House.
Yes.
That's what it's coming down to. And if they do a story about Donald Trump, it
also looks like it's coming from the White House.
And they say something about Donald Trump without any evidence.
Right.
They're adding their own kind of don't believe this at all.
Right.
So that's where we are today. And so if you are a government that has this friendship with the media, you can say anything.
Right.
And that's why it's been remarkable to me. We've had an absolute disaster on our southern border thanks to Joe Biden. For the most part, Fox News has been the only one with reporters on the southern border.
Yeah.
Showing us what's going on.
Right.
Showing us. Not talking about it. Showing us what's going on. The other major networks, you know what? The only time they went down that I remember Joe Biden went to the border there about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and they isolated an area of the border where nobody was coming across. Right. And look at Joe Biden. He's here at the border, and don't believe those networks that are showing you, or like Fox, that are showing you the invasion going on. Look, the border is secure.
Yeah.
And, when Alejandro Mayorkas, the Homeland Security Secretary, testified before Congress that the border was secure, those were his words. The networks, they did not, Washington Post, the New York Times, NBC, did not say that man is lying. They did not. They just accepted that what they knew to be a lie. It's amazing what's going on.
I noticed that you got your one time per show mention of Alejandro Mayorkas, and
I practice.
Yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy would be proud of you.
Yes.
You got to admit, if you looked up at a Subway sandwich shop and saw those names, you would think they were sandwiches.
Yes. The Mayorkas? No, give me the Ramaswamy.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think you said Ramaswamy. It does.
With extra bacon.
Yeah, it does.
Sound very tasty.
With extra bacon.
What's your next story, Steve?
All right. Hey, have you guys heard of something called zombie mortgages? This is a little consumer alert here. We're giving out here on AFR.
That was a scary movie.
The zombie mortgages.
Mortgages.
Wow.
So back in 2008, we had the housing bubble, and a lot of people needed to restructure their home loans, and they did that using some second mortgages. And then there was programs they said to forgive those second mortgages because of the trouble the banks went to, all that kind of stuff. Well, what they're finding is that they didn't actually, in many cases, those second mortgages weren't forgiven. They were sold. The person that got them was told that they were forgiven, but they weren't. And for years, they've been accumulating unpaid debt. Well, in a growing number of cases, those second mortgages were sold for sometimes pennies on the dollars by debt collectors. The new owners go to the house and say, "We are repossessing your house." So you could be sitting in your living room having
and that actually happened.
Yeah, it happened to this lady called Karen McDonough who was in Quincy, Massachusetts, and she'd been had owned the house for 17 years. She'd never missed a payment. She refinanced during 2008 and was told there was no the debt was forgiven, and she stopped getting bills. She thought it was good, and so she's sitting in her living room one day, and all of a sudden, she said about 20 cars show up on her street and start parking all around her house, and she sees a bunch of people on her lawn. She goes out to the guy with the clipboard, looks like he's in charge of what's going on, and he says, "We're repossessing your house." His actual words were, "This is a foreclosure. You're going to lose this house."
And she had no idea because she
Not
was
a clue.
told that her second mortgage had been forgiven.
Is that not illegal?
No.
I would have gone back into the house. I don't know what the woman did. I would have gone back in the house and said, "I'm not leaving," and called a lawyer.
A squatter on your own property.
Just be a squatter on her own property. Of course, she probably has a job. And she can do that.
What's the end of that story? Is there an ending to that story?
Did she lose her house?
It doesn't say.
It's an important thing to leave
It
out.
is an important thing to
This is
leave
kind
out.
of a cliffhanger.
Yeah, I'll come back with you tomorrow on that because
well, we got Trivia Friday tomorrow. We're going to be totally trivial tomorrow.
Yeah.
We don't want to hear about this poor woman from Quincy losing her house on Trivia Friday.
No, not on Trivia Friday.
Is that?
Hey Siri,
Is that like a?
did Karen McDonough lose her house?
What are you doing?
I'm asking Siri.
Doing research.
Couldn't get that. Can I try again?
Okay.
Don't do that again on the.
I tell you what, if this lady is without a house, she can go to Los Angeles
That's right.
today, and she can get a free $600,000 condo if she just tells them she's homeless.
This is the truth. Now you shared this. I couldn't believe this.
Yes. Yesterday there was a ribbon cutting of a brand new high-rise condominium building in Los Angeles. And it is built by the city, taxpayers' dollars, and you have to be homeless to be a tenant. You don't have to pay anything. Everybody gets a $600,000 condominium, beautiful rooms, there's gymnasium, there's,
See how long this lasts.
This is brand new. This is part of a $1.something billion. It was a referendum that was passed to help the homeless. And this is what they did. This is a $165 million building that you have to be homeless in order to live
And this
there.
is why I mentioned in our story meeting that this is how the middle class disappears in societies.
Yeah.
The middle class, many of whom struggle to meet their own mortgages
Yes.
or their own rent payments, their tax money goes to build this fiasco for homeless people. And
You don't want to take care of homeless people?
I do want to take care of homeless people, but you send them to shelters and help them find places. You don't take tax money and build them $600,000 apartments. And by the way, once you move into a place like this, you're not homeless anymore.
So if you reapply, you're going to have to tell them.
Yeah, I'm not homeless. Can I still stay in my apartment? No, you're not homeless.
I really like this place.
I'm telling you, the people in California and elsewhere are losing their minds. And as a result, I'm losing mine.
Right. All right, we're out of time. Steve's still trying to find out whatever happened to this poor lady.
McDonough, she's going to have to move to LA.
So it's called a zombie mortgage?
Zombie mortgages, yeah. They come back and haunt you.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Steve.
My pleasure.
Thanks Ed and Fred.
You bet.
Chris Woodward, Brent Creeley, Jan Marquel.
Remember Sonny and Butch. Hopefully they get back down here soon.
Not to be confused with Sonny and Cher.
And my father